welcome to podcast.init, the podcast about Python and the people who make it great. When you're ready to launch your next app or you want to try a project you hear about on the show, you'll need somewhere to deploy it, so take a look at our friends over at Linode. With 200 gigabit private networking, scalable shared block storage, node balancers, and a 40 gigabit public network, all controlled by a brand new API, you've got everything you need to scale up. And for your tasks that need fast computation, such as training machine learning models or running your CI pipelines, they just launched dedicated CPU instances. In addition to that, they just launched a new data center in Toronto, and they've got one opening in Mumbai at the end of 2019. Go to pythonpodcast.com/linode, that's Linode today, to get a $20 credit and launch a new server in under a minute. And don't forget to thank them for their continued support of the show. And to keep track of how your team is progressing on building new features and squashing bugs, you need a project management system that can keep up with you, that's designed by software engineers for software engineers. Clubhouse lets you craft a workflow that fits your style, including per-team tasks, cross-project epics, a large suite of pre-built integrations, and a simple API for crafting your own. With such an intuitive tool, it's easy to make sure that everyone in the business is on the same page. Podcast.init listeners get 2 months free on any plan by going to pythonpodcast.com/clubhouse today and signing up for a free trial. And you listen to this show to learn and stay up to date with the ways that Python is being used, including the latest in machine learning and data analysis. For even more opportunities to meet, listen, and learn from your peers, you don't want to miss out on this year's conference season. We have partnered with organizations such as O'Reilly Media, Dataversity, and the Open Data Science Conference. Coming up this fall is the combined events of Graph Forum and the Data Architecture Summit. The agendas have already been announced, and super early bird registration is available until July 26th, where you can get up to $300 off, or the early bird pricing for $200 off is available through August 30th. Use the code BNLLC to get an additional 10% off any pass when you register. Go to pythonpodcast.com/conferences to learn more about this and the other conferences, and take advantage of our partner discounts when you register. And also, the Python Software Foundation is the lifeblood of the community, supporting all of us who want to run workshops and conferences, run development sprints or meetups, and they also ensure that PyCon is a success every year. They have extended the deadline for their 2019 fundraiser until June 30th, and they need help to make sure they reach their goal. Go to pythonpodcast.com/PSF2019 today to make a donation. And you can visit the site at pythonpodcast.com to subscribe to the show, sign up for the mailing list, read the show notes, and get in touch. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. And to help other people find the show, please leave a review on iTunes and tell your friends and coworkers. Your host as usual is Tobias Macy, and today I'm interviewing Jared Broad and Alex Catarino about QuantConnect, a platform for building and testing algorithmic trading strategies on open data and cloud resources. So Jared, could you start by introducing yourself?
Hi, Tobias. Nice to meet you. My name's Jared Broad, and I'm the CEO and founder of QuantConnect. We were founded about 2012, and since then, we've been building this community and cloud platform to give people the most powerful algorithmic trading services possible.
And Alex, could you introduce yourself as well?
Yeah, hi. I'm Alex. I'm a community lead at QuantConnect, and I was involved a lot in the Python integration with QuantConnect. So I'm here because of that.
And going back to you, Jared, do you remember how you first got introduced to Python?
Yeah, I've been in and out of Python for many years now, but it was really the community of QuantConnect that drove me personally mostly into Python. So it's been strongly demanded by our community, and I've had to learn it from the ground up, which has been a fascinating and humble experience. But it's been a great journey.
And Alex, do you remember how you first got introduced to Python?
Yeah, I started in late 2015 when we started to work on the integration. And it's been great learning how powerful Python is. I also helped to translate some of the algorithms from C# to Python, and I learned a lot in this process.
And so, Jared, going back to you, you mentioned a little bit about what QuantConnect is and some of when it got started, but I'm wondering if you can just give a broader overview about what you're building with the QuantConnect business and platform and how it got started and just your overall mission for the company.
Sure. QuantConnect really at its core is a global community of engineers, quants, scientists, mathematicians, just people who have a passion for the market and have ideas that they want to test. And so our mission really was to break open this really complicated and hard to access technology and financial data so that individual people could get access to it and test their ideas and then deploy powerful investment strategies to the markets. We started in 2012, and the world's evolved a lot since then, and now we've built this technology, we've offered this platform, and the community is the biggest community in the world of these quants, and we are looking to provide them a way to monetize their efforts and make the most of their ideas. And so that's what we're launching this year, which is called Alpha Streams, and it's a way for them to really make the most of their efforts.
And I know that there are a few other businesses that are in a similar space as far as being a way for average users to be able to build and test algorithms for running against financial data and possibly actually executing trades with it. So I'm curious if you can talk through some of the other businesses or platforms, whether open source or proprietary, that are operating in that similar space, and maybe characterize your position in the market and how you compare to some of the other options.
Sure. I would say that we're the only company that has stayed 100% focused on the quants and the community. That motive that has driven our core business decisions, our technology design. And so as a result, we're the only one in the market who actually didn't become a hedge fund. So we've focused on developing the platform and the technology to be the best possible for the quant community. And so as a result, we now support equities, Forex, options, crypto markets. You can do live trading on 6 different brokerages now, and it's all hosted in our co-located servers in New York. So we provide like professional quality execution, live trading, live data, and it's all built and focused on this quant community. And this came to a peak with Alpha Streams, because we were being approached by a lot of quantitative hedge funds who were saying they wanted access to the community. And we didn't want to compromise on those values, that we put the community members first. So when we were looking at how we could do that, we were trying to find a way that the quant we could do the best for the quant. And that's really how Alpha Streams came about. It's the world's first alpha market. It's a way for these quants to design algorithms and put them into a marketplace, and then have dozens of hedge funds from all around the world reviewing the alpha signals and having the ability to license those algorithms and get distribution that they've never had before.
And so I know that the core of the platform is largely implemented in C#, and that's where a lot of your background lies, and that you have added support for Python as an implementation language. But I'm wondering if you can just start by talking through what the main ways are that you and your customers end up using Python, both within the QuantConnect platform itself, and just more generally in terms of the algorithmic nature of the problem domain that you're working in.
We are constantly humbled by the million different ways that the community uses the platform, and mostly our job is to make it as versatile and flexible as possible. So we do that for them, and then they can use it to test basically anything. So the platform data ranges from tick all the way up to daily resolution. And so users are developing sort of fast, I wouldn't say high frequency, but they're developing fast strategies, intraday strategies that are trading on momentum or some sort of intraday signals, all the way up to portfolios and long-term rebalancing kinds of strategies. And the beauty of having all the different asset types that are available in the platform, you can combine strategies and asset types to generate the best returns. So if you've got an idea that could use equities and options, you can merge them together. Or if you want to go to crypto assets when the market's going crazy, you can add crypto data to your algorithm and move between the crypto markets and the equity markets. It's really fascinating.
And for anybody who isn't familiar with the space of quantitative trading and some of the just overall requirements in terms of general knowledge of financial data and algorithmic strategies, I'm wondering if you can just talk through just what is involved overall in being able to build and test these algorithms.
Well, we have a lot of material for someone who is new. We have been working a lot on this material for the past 2 years, and now we have dozens of tutorials and a strategy library with hundreds of academic papers implementation. So our users have access to full working algorithms that they can take as an inspiration, and also follow all the process that in these paper implementations. And we also have a bootcamp, which is an interactive step-by-step tutorial. And on top of that, we have the native community that share knowledge and ideas in a forum. And just add that no matter whether you are beginner or professional, we have the tools and the data to build powerful algorithmic trading strategies.
Now, in terms of QuantConnect itself, I'm wondering what the overall architecture of the platform looks like and the various components that play into each other for being able to provide a way to access the data that's necessary for testing these strategies, and just some of the overall challenges and complications involved, both from the nature of being able to run potentially untrusted user code and also being able to collect and maintain all of the data that's necessary for being able to do the historical backtesting.
It's incredibly challenging, to be honest. We are always breaking every API that we use. So we add a new brokerage and we find bugs in the brokerage API within a day. We add we swapped database technology to use Google Spanner a while ago, and we broke Google Spanner, and we have to file bug reports in Google Spanner. So overall, the core of the sort of user-facing experience is an online coding environment. So you go to QuantConnect, you sign up, it's completely free, and the first thing you're greeted with is it's a coding environment very similar to PyCharm or Visual Studio Code, and 80% of the community are Python users. So it presents you with a Python algorithm to get started, and you can go and you can design one of these algorithms in this online editor. So behind the scenes, we've built web versions of all of the normal tech that you would have for a code editor. So you've got debugging, you've got a builder, a compiler, you've got interactive IntelliSense. So all of the aspects of running an IntelliSense, but it's all in the cloud version and made for scale with thousands and thousands of people. So it's a very fun, challenging problem. And then once you've built an algorithm and you go to deploy it into a backtest, you're running your algorithm through Lean. Lean is our open source project. It's a massive algorithmic trading system that allows you to build an algorithm and test it. And the Lean engine, handles everything else. So behind the scenes, it's getting the data you need. It's synchronizing that data. It's managing your portfolio, so the state of your algorithm, and managing all of the models, so that we can do virtual fills in simulation on all these different asset classes and virtual transactions, and modeling all of the fees and the slippage and the portfolio values. So the Lean engine handles that, and it handles it incredibly fast, because really the users are running on terabytes of data. underneath. And so we've got these large clouds underneath supplying that data. And behind the scenes, the users are requesting terabytes of data. So we have a large financial data library and we maintain it and curate it. And we have redundant systems in multiple locations which are generating, curating, and providing that data to the community. So it's kind of a large engine that really just lets the users in the community focus on building and designing and testing their ideas, and the QuantConnect team handles everything else.
And so you mentioned that the core of the platform is the Lean engine, and I know that it's been released as an open source technology. So I'm wondering what your overall strategy is and your motivation for providing that as a freely available resource for people to be able to use and analyze for their own purposes.
Yeah, we released Lean in 2014, 2015. And it was kind of scary at the time because it was our first open source release. And like the algorithmic trading industry, everything's so secretive and it kind of goes against the grain. So it was actually probably one of the best decisions we made. Algorithmic trading is incredibly sensitive to the platform, the infrastructure that you're running on. And by open sourcing it and letting the users touch it, inspect it, we were able to give them a lot of confidence and faith in the platform and how it's built and how it's architected. We were able to rally this global community of engineers and brilliant minds to come and work on the platform. So there's over 90 contributors from all around the world who have been part of making Lean possible. It's kind of weird, but a lot of our team was found through the open source. It's people who are working on the project for fun on their own time, and we say, hey, come and join QuantConnect and we'll do it full time together. So we just bring the people on board and they join the team full time, and it's been a great way to meet new team members. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey with the open source.
And given that the Lean engine is written in C#, but you're using it as a mechanism for executing Python code, I'm wondering what the bridge looks like and just the overall technology stack that you've compiled for being able to enable that interaction and be able to run those Python algorithms, particularly in terms of managing dependencies within this C# core runtime.
Yeah, the original implementation was based on IronPython. It was in production, it dates back in 2014. It was in production for about 1 year, but it has poor library support, just the standard library. And the community members were looking for NumPy, SumPy, and Pandas. They love Pandas. And eventually machine learning libraries. So we started looking for a replacement in 2015, 16, and we tried autocode generation by reading the C# code and then creating a Python library for Lean. It wrote thousands of classes and automatically porting C# to Python, but it was really, really, really slow, so we couldn't use it. So inspired in NumPy, we looking to make a C++ version of Lean. We would bound it directly the Python C API, invoking from the C++ library that would be Lean. This solution requires serialization across the memory domain, passing the data from C to Python and on the other direction. And there's always part of the transport for anything from beyond basic types. Serialization is the core limitation for this kind of interop operations. Anytime a complex type needed to transmit between the C# and the Python, it requires serialization to string to work properly. So in our research, we came across PythonNet, which is also an open source project. It's led by Denis Akiarov. And PythonNet it was a great finding. It provides the key bindings into Python C API to net applications, so it can easily consume the Python objects. So with PythonNet, we were able to import Python classes into Lean as algorithms. It supports all versions of Python from 2 to 3.6. That's the version that we are using right now, and it supports most of the libraries. So now Lean supports NumPy, SciPy, TensorFlow, Keras. For instance, in Lean, we deeply model the portfolio of an algorithm, providing the profits, losses, slippage models like Jared mentioned before. And PythonNet handles all the types conversion between the two languages very well.
And because of the fact that you're bridging these two different language runtimes, I imagine that that has at least some impact on the overall latency and performance characteristics of the execution of the algorithms. And since the financial space is highly time dependent as far as the execution of trades to make sure that you're getting the price that you think that you're getting, I'm curious what your approach has been to managing those performance impacts and maintaining an appropriate level of latency.
Well, ultimately, we stuck with PythonNet and looking to optimize the PythonNet bridge between the two languages, because it's already the direct binding from the Python C API, so it's already the fastest option available, right? So we're just looking to improving PythonNet and improving also the speed of Lean. Anyway, in live trading, Lean is slightly fast. It's not designed for high frequency trading, like Jared has mentioned, but 99% of the world is more than enough speed. So since links can analyze and respond to new data within milliseconds, there are other bottlenecks like the brokerage API that are much more important to the latency.
And have there been any complications or edge cases that you've had to deal with in terms of the communication layer between Python and the .NET CLR for any sorts of bugs that are introduced? And then the other curiosity I have is management of the third-party libraries that you bring in, as far as any upgrades trying to avoid breaking the user submitted algorithms that might be dependent on particular features of whatever version is available at the time of implementation for things like NumPy or TensorFlow.
It is a problem though, and it's been an interesting one to manage. So behind the scenes, we have a versioning system, kind of like GitHub, that lets us deploy different versions of our infrastructure. So we can actually, for the startup hedge funds that are using QuantConnect, we can actually pin the version of the infrastructure to a certain version, and then they can go and they can run their fund on a specific version. But for the bulk of the community, it's better, we've found, to give them the latest version of QuantConnect's code because it has the most bug fixes. Just simply, we iterate very, very quickly, and we fix the open source and fix its bugs very, very quickly. And so deploying those fixes to production is the best we can do for the bulk of the community. But for a lot of people who are managing assets and doing sort of production sensitive deployments every day to live trading, we've got this pinned infrastructure system that we make available to them.
Well, for the libraries, we have all every time that we add new libraries or update the framework, the basic Docker container that we have, we test it against a bunch of algorithms as a kind of unit test to see if it's not broken. But we try to keep the versions um, constant in time and just make an upgrade when we see it's fit. So we are always looking for the state of the art of each library.
And For the usage of Python itself, you mentioned that there are something like 80% of your users who use that versus some of the other runtimes that you support. And I'm wondering, what are the benefits of the Python language specifically that brings in so many people in the quant community? And I'm also wondering what the practicality is for machine learning techniques, because I know you mentioned that people are leveraging TensorFlow and Keras. And I know that a lot of the utility of machine learning is based on being able to recognize and execute on certain patterns. And with financial data, it can be highly variable. So I'm interested in what the strategies are on that front.
Right. The main benefits of Python, it's code clarity and brevity, and alongside with the data processing capability. Our members extensively use pandas as it's a great library to deal with matrix prices that represent a history of a portfolio. Also, it benefits, as we mentioned, it was the main reason to work on with that. All sorts of libraries that comes with Python that are as great for machine learnings, and which is a hot topic today. On the type of strategies we can really disclose, but simple strategies like see what's the predictability of a open gap in the open prices. People can plug this into the machine learning and see how this can be used as a predictor.
And you mentioned that the other recent product addition is this Alpha Streams platform where users in your community can submit their algorithms for being able to be licensed by other people to execute their trades on. And so I'm wondering what it is about Alpha Streams that makes it unique in the market and how it benefits the users of your platform, and just what the overall adoption and feedback has been.
Alpha Streams is at its core this market where users can deploy their algorithms into an environment where institutions can review them and potentially license them. But really, to fully understand it, you have to go back to how the industry works today. So you have thousands of hedge funds doing things in a very old-fashioned way. They're not quite the same. They're not quite keeping up with the open source community. They hire recruiters. They bring in these quants who are new to the firm. They pay expensive recruiter fees. They train them up and they get them working on new data sets. And maybe in 6 months or so, the quant is going to come up with a cool idea that they're going to put into production. And so there's this very long search process where these institutions are looking for an idea and looking for an algorithm to trade. And because there's no central platform where they can compare these algorithms, they can't trust anything that comes from outside the firm. So everybody's repeating everything they do. They bring in data, they redo the same experiments that every other hedge fund has done. So with Alpha Streams, it's flipping the entire industry on its head. We are looking to automate this entire search process. So if we were to design the perfect hedge fund today, what would it look like? And so in our minds, it would tap into a globally distributed community where the ideas are tested and vetted and evaluated based on merits, not where you are in the world and not which school you came from. So with Alpha Streams, if your idea is good, you can put it into QuantConnect, you can get it tested and verified independently by us, and then it can be distributed to thousands of hedge funds. And so that idea of meritocracy in quant finance is at its core, that's what quant finance is about. But in practice, there's just so much politics and paperwork and overhead that goes into running a fund that it doesn't actually happen in practice. So we've built an API where these institutions can come in and search the marketplace for funds, for strategies which are listed. And the community can quickly and easily deploy their algorithms to be listed in the marketplace and be considered to be licensed. It's really an exciting concept. It flips the entire industry on its head.
And The other thing that is notable about the work that you're doing is the efforts that you're putting into to foster and grow the community around QuantConnect and quantitative finance. And so I'm wondering what your overall strategies are and just the overall effort that you're putting into building and maintaining this community and how it plays into your overall product design.
It's a tough one. It's a very hard subject. So the community members are grappling with high order math, like they have to know pretty advanced coding. They're grappling with a new API, our API, and terabytes of data that they've never seen or managed before. So it's definitely a challenge that we are learning and growing from on a daily basis. But we just do our best to make the platform transparent so that you can see as much as possible, to give the community the tools that they're familiar with, like debugging, and then and sort of code inspection and the ability to build algorithms in a familiar environment. And then we just try to really empower and highlight those people who are doing an awesome job. So we give people free live trading as much as possible. We give them free data so they can go and backtest on massively powerful VMs in the cloud on terabytes of data. And it's just it's one of those things. We as a company are constantly evolving and constantly figuring out the answers to that one. Recently, actually, just a couple of days ago, we deployed something that's awesome. And it's a parameter detection system. So in quantitative research, there's certain ways where you can fall into common pitfalls. And if you're not careful, you can design an algorithm that'll work perfectly on historical data and be extremely overfitted and be useless for live trading. And it could be very risky for you in live trading. So we've built a parameter detection system and a backtest counting system so that we can give people warnings. Hey, you're using 30 parameters in this algorithm. Did you know that with 30 parameters, you could paint the Mona Lisa? You could come up with a variable that'll literally paint the Mona Lisa, and you could do it with a handful of variables. So try and avoid using so many parameters in your algorithm. So it's just a continuous process that we're going through.
I think that something like that is great, that you have this feedback mechanism, particularly for people who are maybe just doing this as a hobby project to just dabble in what's involved in these higher order mathematics, or trying to experiment with data science and data analytics. And so I'm also wondering what the broad categories are of the types of users who interact with QuantConnect, and what it is that keeps them engaged and continuing to work on and help you evolve the platform.
Well, we are constantly amazed by the creative of our users. I work with support and I see what they are doing. And it's incredible. And they push us to develop the new technology every day, like Jeremy mentioned, with the parameters count. By the way, that part we have done that with Python. It's a Python script that detects the parameters. Most of what we do, it's intellectual property of the users. So we can discuss in details, like in the examples that I gave before. But there's also work. For example, Marine is built on open source Android application to the API, so people can control their live algorithm on the go. Or James has released an open source optimizer. You can run generic optimizations with Lean that we still don't support, but eventually we will do in the future.
And to give you more background.
To give you more background, the QuantConnect community is just so diverse. It's so hard to put them into one bucket. So we have all the core STEM graduates, so science, technology, mathematics, chemistry, physics, anybody who's gone through that sort of programming and rigorous training. But then there's about a third who are financial professionals. They might be working in the fund industry and doing this on the side, or dreaming about starting their own fund. Or there's academics and traders and just thousands of people from all over the world. There's about half of the community are in the US. but the other half are just spread out in UK, Russia, China, India. It's fascinating.
And what have been some of the most interesting or innovative or unexpected ways that you have seen people interacting with QuantConnect and using it and just sort of building in terms of the types of strategies or tactics that they're leveraging?
Yeah, so it's tough for us to talk about the individual strategies that people are building, but broad strokes, there's everything from some fast to machine learning to portfolios. But then people also, we've opened up an API to QuantConnect itself. And so a Netherlands programmer has created a mobile application for Android, and it's actually got a full user interface for controlling, starting and stopping your live trading algorithms. So we're a fairly small company, and we'd like to keep the whole company lean, and it's awesome to see the community sort of pick up areas where we haven't built yet, and they're just running with it and building epically beautiful applications. And James, I think his last name is Christchurch, but I only know his Git handle. He's built a genetic optimizer. So you can actually just plug the open source lean algorithmic trading engine into his genetic optimizer, and it'll go and it'll run a batch genetic optimization on hundreds or thousands of lean strategies that'll run through it to find the right parameters for your algorithm. So it's really awesome to see the community do that sort of stuff. It's all open source, and we are constantly blown away by it.
And for somebody who's interested in getting started with QuantConnect and quantitative finance and algorithmic trading in general, I'm wondering what the onboarding process looks like for building on QuantConnect and just some of the resources that you have found to be useful for people who are new to the area and want to start experimenting with it on their own time.
We try to make this process as easy as possible, but ultimately it is going to be a little tricky because we're trying to introduce people who might come from just a pure programming background to all of this quantitative world. But the first thing you do when you sign up is you've got that coding environment, and we put you into something we call boot camp. And boot camp is kind of like Udemy, where you have a little documentation, and you have to do, we call them like a micro tutorial. You have to do the smallest possible step to move your algorithm towards production and getting it to run a backtest. And so we plan to build out the bootcamp library and have hundreds of different bootcamp tutorials where people can go through these micro steps and learn how to build really powerful algorithms. We also have a boatload of documentation so that people can go and read videos, and the community is very engaged. We're very grateful for the community and all their help to help other community members.
And looking broadly at the industry, I'm wondering what the trends are in quantitative finance and algorithmic trading that you find most exciting and the ones that you find most concerning as you look forward.
I'm probably fairly biased. I don't find too much concerning, but I am very excited about the move for finance to become more like Silicon Valley, especially in the last 2 to 3 years. You're seeing these large institutions start to open up. And that's something that we've been doing for years now. And we're happy to see these beasts, these large machines starting to come around to these ideas. And then the other big trend that we believe is happening is this, you're no longer judged by a single idea. You're judged by how fast you evolve and how fast your ideas can iterate and evolve. And the financial markets are driving that. The markets are changing faster than they ever have before, and that's forcing people to change and automate it faster, better, and new, unique ideas more than they ever have before. And so that automation is really part of the key of QuantConnect's alpha streams. We see that the individual fund can't compete against thousands and thousands of quants in the community. And so by pairing a fund with the community, we think that they can be equipped to evolve fast enough to keep up with the markets. And that's really the core of the AlphaStream vision.
And in terms of the future of QuantConnect, what do you have planned in terms of overall features or growth for the platform, or plans that you have for helping to foster the community and help them thrive?
We are investing every day a lot in our education, in the platform, making it better for the community. And ultimately, all of this is to drive licensing and get these community members connected with funds so that they can earn revenue. And so that's really what inspires us. We want to get these users, we want to give them as much research about cutting edge quantitative techniques so they can make the best live trading algorithms so that they can get licensed and distributed to funds, to really grow this to the largest quantitative community of algo traders and developers and coders in the world, and pair them with the best technology possible. And in the process, what we're doing is we're making the industry more efficient. You've got all of these institutions all repeating the same thing, and it's incredibly inefficient. So by making the platform better, we can make the whole industry more efficient and empower people from all around the world based on the merit of their ideas. And that's really the core of our passion.
And are there any other aspects of QuantConnect, any of its various aspects, or the overall space of quantitative finance that we didn't discuss yet that you'd like to cover before we close out the show?
Yeah, I think the industry needs as much brain as possible to foster more innovation, and that's it.
Oh, I suppose we're recruiting. We are looking for people who love hard challenges. And we have epically hard challenges. So if you're interested in solving how do we get debugging for thousands of people when they're backtesting terabytes of data, and figuring out how to do that in a multi-language environment, and worrying about memory leaks and pinning and cross-domain serial, it's epically hard problems. So if that sounds like you, then check out our open source.
Good point. I was also thinking about the data quality. Maybe people can data scientists can come up to help us to improve our data. That's also important, especially now that we are going to have alternative data from other markets. That's not just price data. So it's very important too.
To further to give some background to that, we have terabytes of this price data, so futures, options, equities, forex, crypto, and really though to build an algorithm, there's a little bit more than just price data that's required. So most people, they say, hey, when we'll just apply this technical indicator to this price data, and that'll be our strategy. But most of the time, because that strategy, because all of that price data is open, all of those technical strategies that might have worked in the 1970s, 1980s, they don't really work in live trading anymore. So the whole financial industry is moving towards using alternative data in their strategies. One other big thing I think that's happening at the moment that's really important for the community to understand is this move from focusing on price data alone to focusing on a core hypothesis. So when people are designing an algorithm, they're pulling in much more of the scientific method. So instead of just saying, I'm going to hack around with this data until I find something that fits, they first need to start with an idea. And that idea has to be something fundamental that'll move the markets. So for example, you might say that when there's more sunshine, you're going to have more oranges produced. And that is going to cause a surplus of supply of oranges. And so orange juice futures contracts are probably going to fall. And so there's a definite cause and effect of that relationship between the sunshine and the orange juice. And it might be weak, and it might just be a hypothesis, but then you need to go and you test your idea and you see if it has merit. And so you might pull in things like, if the federal bank increases interest rates, then the mortgage rates are going to go up, And so thus any real estate investment ETFs are probably going to go down because they won't be able to buy as much with the capital that they have. And so there's lots of different cause and effects, whether it be in the real world, like looking around you and seeing how things interact, or in sort of the virtual world, in the financial markets, and how different mechanisms interact with each other. But really to monetize those things, your algorithm needs to be connected to what's called these days as alternative data. It's data which is not just the price data of the markets, it's a signal that's about the world. It's a signal about sunshine and the current sunshine hours in Florida, or the current federal interest rates, and using that as a way that your algorithm can start to trade and act on those signals. And so at QuantConnect recently, we've started this project to work with alternative data vendors and get them to import their data into the QuantConnect repository. And that way our community can go and design these epically powerful algorithms on not just price data, but all of this alternative data that covers social sentiment, Twitter, jobs numbers, real world data like weather, temperature, everything. As much data as we can find, we're pulling into QuantConnect right now. So it's a really challenging project in terms of engineering, but also it's going to empower the community to make such amazing strategies.
Yeah, that's definitely something that is, as you said, challenging and complicated, but also interesting in terms of just the breadth and scope of the problem domain, and how that how the level of sophistication that is required has grown since the financial markets first became able to be interacted with in a computational fashion, just because of the increasing globalization and interconnectedness of our various financial markets, as transportation and communication catapults us further into the 21st century and these just global economies. And yeah, it's a fascinating area. So it's definitely interesting to hear about how you're trying to help provide your users the ability to leverage that additional data to be more effective in their strategies.
Yeah, you've heard the meme basically that there's just, what is it, data's growing at double the rate each year or something like that. There's thousands of terabytes of data being added every day, and it's so true. And you're seeing even mainstream government websites totally opening up their data sets, and so it's becoming this challenge to import all of that data and analyze it and put it into a usable form so that you can run an algorithm on it. And our job is we build in one data set. With that one data set, you can do 1,000 different algorithms. And that's the brilliant thing. We love seeing, if you're a agriculture engineer or you've worked in that industry, you might be familiar with, orange juice and sunshine. Or if you're a solar engineer, you might go and be familiar with the solar industry and how sunshine hours are going to affect electricity generation. And so there's just thousands of different ways that people with their own unique mindsets and abilities can write completely different algorithms on exactly the same data set. And that's the power of a global community like QuantConnect, because it's not about our ideas or what we do. All we do is put one data set up, and then individual people from all over the world make 1,000 different ideas from that. And it's so cool to see.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see the work that you're doing, and I'm curious to see how the incorporation of those alternative data sets are going to help enrich the capabilities of the people using your platform. And so for anybody who wants to follow along with the work that you're doing or get in touch, I'll have you add your preferred contact information to the show notes. And so with that, I'll move us into the picks. And this week I'm going to choose Good Omens, both the book and the miniseries that was recently released. It's definitely a great storyline. I watched the first episode of the miniseries recently, and I think they did a very good job of that. So I'm excited to watch the rest of it. So if you're looking for a new piece of fiction to pick up and engage with, I definitely recommend that. And so with that, I'll pass it to you, Jared. Do you have any picks this week?
I got into I think it's HBO series Chernobyl. It's following the like a story form documentary on the Chernobyl disaster, and it's amazing. I love it so much. highly recommend it.
I'll have to take a look at that. Alex, do you have any picks this week?
Yes, for this week, I'm going to pick the series, The 100, because it talks about the future of the humanity and the dangers of artificial intelligence. So I think it's fitting to what we've been talking about.
All right. Well, thank you both for taking the time today to join me and discuss the work that you're doing on QuantConnect and in the quantitative finance realm. It's definitely an interesting problem domain and one that I'm sure a number of listeners will be interested in experimenting with. So thank you for your time and energy on that, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Tobias. It was great to chat.
Thank you, Tobias. Bye.